Okay, today, Thursday, January 18th, 2024, 5:33 a.m. Making coffee, and I'm listening to If It's Not the Gospel, It Is Not the Gospel, ! There is a new emerging religion, and it is dangerous. And it's interesting. It's just a YouTube channel emphasizing the gospel. But here's the thing. I wanted to put down here about the not being ashamed of the gospel of Christ. And the woman reading it passage goes through several different. It's, I want to say, part of our catechism, if you will. We hear these things and we'll repeat them. You hear them in Christian culture all the time about preaching the gospel, not being ashamed to do this and not being ashamed to do that, not being ashamed to talk about heaven and hell and tell all these things, and not being ashamed to stand up for Christ. The thing is, this is subtle, but this is very significant. The subtlety is this perspective of not being ashamed of the gospel is self-focused. In other words, it has to do with my relationship with God. Now, I need to not be ashamed of the gospel so that I can be in a right standing with God. That's I think what is clearly can be said. I need to not be ashamed of the gospel so that the end of that being that I am in a right relationship with God. And I think that's the subtle deception. We need to preach the word and tell people about Christ. We need to tell people about Christ. And when we hear that, we're moved like that's something we need to do. We need to tell people about Christ, that's our to-do in this world. Again, another subtle deception. Telling people about Christ is maybe a good thing, but it's not our biblical to-do. Our biblical to-do is to love others as ourselves. See the difference? The gospel of Christ is the gospel of love. It's the gospel of redemption. It's the gospel of forgiveness. It's the gospel of the fruit of the Spirit living inside of us. The fruit of the Spirit, by the way, is what love looks like in action. It's a 3D picture of love. That's the fruit of the Spirit. That's what we should be engaged in. And when we say we're not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, that's how we demonstrate it. We're not ashamed to love. We're not afraid to love. We're not ashamed to forgive. We're not ashamed to be humble. We're not afraid or ashamed to take care of the sick, to visit the fatherless and the widow. We're not afraid or ashamed to do these things. Now, some people will come back and say that's social justice. That's not the gospel. And I will say, find that in the Bible. That is the gospel. That is absolutely the gospel. It's the gospel of the New Testament. It's the gospel of the Old Testament. Loving people. Actively, physically, manifestly loving people. What greater love can you have than to deliver somebody to be delivered from what's oppressing them? And that's not just some kind of thing in their mind. When you deliver somebody from hunger, when you deliver them from physical distress, pain. You see a car accident, you go and there's a person that's bleeding, you deliver them from death. Literally, you stop the bleeding, you help them. The enemy, with contrast here, the enemy's intention simple. His motive, his purpose, his strategies are not complicated. They're subtle, but they're not complicated. Is meant on the destruction of man. That's how he survives. Period. That's it. Man wins by surviving. Period. That's the game. Man survives when we take care of each other, when we learn how to love according to the Bible. That's why the Bible is so significant, because in it we have the Word of God, which is the Word of love. Period. And it's not some kind of free, feel good love. No, this is the love that maybe I'll call it ugly love. It's the love that cares about other people. It's the love that gives. It's the love that sacrifices. It's the love that does things for benevolent purposes. Charles Finney called it ultimately disinterested benevolence, when you care about people because they're people, not because they're your family, your children, your parents, your cousin, your friend. But you love people because they're people. That's what not being ashamed of the gospel is all about. That's what the gospel is. That's what makes it good news. See, I'll tag on to this part. And that good news is totally within the realm of our ability to operate. We don't need God to push a button inside of us to say, oh, now you can believe in me. Oh, now you can do this. Oh, now you can do that. No, we are free moral agents. We have the ability and the power to choose good or evil. And that's why it's good news, because we can. We can choose good over evil. That's it. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. What do you have to do? You have to choose good and do good. That's easy. That's not hard. What makes it hard in our minds is this distorted view of what being a Christ follower is, and original sin and total depravity and all of this sideways that's come in that actually strips us from our own moral capacity to do good. That's false. That's evil. And that hinders, and it's working toward our destruction rather toward our survival. So anyway, I think that's enough on that right now about the power of the gospel and not being ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ.